Hey everyone, this is McKeever from Heavy Halo, and you're listening to Heavy Mental Breakdown.
McKeever, Brooklyn, another Brooklynite. Is that
Yes,
what it's called? Brooklynite?
I think so.
Brooklyner? I've
I've
only
seen
been in
both.
I've only been in New York for a couple years. So I don't
Where are you
really
from?
know. Well, I moved here from Chicago,
Oh,
and
cool.
before that I was in LA for 10 years, and then but I'm originally from the Bay Area, like San Francisco, San Jose area in California.
Oh, cool.
So I'm kind of just moving around right now. But I've only been in New York for a couple years, but I'm in Brooklyn, and so are you. How do you enjoy? Are you from Brooklyn? Are you from the New York area?
I
Where are
was
you
I
from?
was born in Manhattan, um,
Oh, okay.
and I sort of grew up a bit there, and then was in the suburbs and came back for school, college, and sort of have been here since then. So it's been a while.
Would you
And
ever leave New York?
I tried, and it didn't work. I
It,
got the umbilical cord pulled me back to the mothership.
it was like, no, you're not going anywhere.
I mean,
You're a
also
Brooklynite.
this band started, like, and that was like a big reason I moved back also. Because I live with John Ghost Effects, who's my bandmate, and we have a studio here. Well, this is just my room, but he has a bunch of sets
Mm.
upstairs. So,
Oh, cool.
you know,
Your guys' like apartment is your own studio space.
yeah, pretty much. Although I'm
Cool.
not allowed to do vocals here because I get too crazy. The neighbor, so I have to go to take it to the pirate rehearsal studio.
Well, if you're recording your music and you're not causing chaos somewhere, then you're not doing it right.
That's absolutely true. I definitely agree with that.
So, for anybody who doesn't know about Heavy Halo, what can you tell us about you guys? When did you start? What are you guys all about?
So I would say we're like a goth industrial grunge band. We
Goth Industrial. What was it? Goth Industrial
kind of grunge.
Grunge.
I
Okay, yeah,
mean,
yeah,
we
yeah.
sort of bonded over listening to a lot of like early Nine Inch Nails and Smashing Pumpkins, and sort of,
Cool.
we sort of found ourselves like going to raves, but then going to see a lot of live bands, and in the sort of like dark wave scene and all this kinds of stuff. So, we sort of wanted to combine those worlds in, a lot of people are sort of mining that ground, but we wanted to sort of find our own little stamp on it. And yeah, so like my background is more songwriter oriented, playing in like noise rock bands and singing, and I, studied jazz and classical music and went to college for composition at
Cool.
Columbia, stuff like that. So I have like a kind of chaotic musical background in that. And John comes from like producing techno and DJing techno in the late 90s, and then through industrial, through rave, through all that stuff. So we sort of like meet in the middle.
Cool.
But the
Yeah,
thing
my wife is a house DJ.
Oh, hell yeah. So
She's
you
into
get
house
you
music
you
and
know the
stuff.
like whole.
Yeah. I get it a little bit. Before I met her, that wasn't really my scene, and then she kind of opened me up to this whole new world of that style of music, and so I dig it now.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, there's just so much out there, and also, I mean, I've sort of said this, or if you follow our Instagram page, we're like super nerdy about this stuff, but like, all the gear and the technology has gotten so good that it's really a lot more doable to like perform electronic music live.
Yeah.
And so the lines are becoming increasingly blurred. Like, is someone DJing, or are they like improvising this, or is it,
Yeah.
like both, or like whatever?
Yeah. I feel that's everything right now. Everything is kind of confusing, and everything is like, what do I believe? What is this? Is this AI? Is this this? Is it that? I find myself questioning everything today or these days.
Yeah. We released our first single, Black Seed, sort of in the August, I think, of 2021, which was like right towards the end of the pandemic. And the pandemic really sucked, but it gave us like, we had the whole first album done, but then the pandemic happened, and we were like, we're not going to start a band like during the pandemic. We're just going to sit on this. We wrote almost a lot of the second record. We did 3 music videos. We did all this artwork. I mean, the only good thing about it was that we were living together also with our graphic designer, and we had nothing to do, right? But we were in our little COVID pod. So we were sort of able to like come out of the gate with like a full album, 3 videos, and all the artwork and everything like set, which was our sort of goal. And this year we put out our second album, Damaged Dream, which I have right here on vinyl from Silent Pendulum Records.
Shout out Silent Pendulum.
So that's been.
I'm gonna have to grab one of those vinyls sometime. I like to grab vinyls of who I interview and place them behind over here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so we've started this year touring more. We're going on like a month-long tour with the Thrill Kill Cult in a couple months.
Month-long tour.
Like 3 weeks, but like with off days because of driving.
That's awesome. That's a long time.
Yeah. And
have you guys done a tour like that before?
We did like a kind of 15-day tour this summer, but it was Northeast. This is way more extensive. So yeah, and we're in the middle of working on our 3rd album. It's actually really far along. Everything's written and mostly produced. I just have to do vocals on a couple more songs. Then I sort of give everything to John, and we say like I'm the starter, he's the finisher. Like I get everything as far as I can get, and then he has carte blanche to rip it up, change things, like tell me to redo shit, like completely remix the song, and then we start from scratch, like whatever.
Seems like you guys balance each other out a bit.
Yeah, a little bit of yin yang energy. So yeah, I think we're excited about this year because we're going to be showing more people the music from the first 2 albums while the 3rd album is sort of cooking. So yeah,
very cool. It sounds like you're always busy, always writing, always creating.
Trying to. I mean, it's
Do you have a full-time like job outside of your music?
I've been doing like freelance production stuff.
John, oh, cool. Yeah, me too. I do a lot of freelance production stuff on the side,
like mixing and producing for other artists. And
oh, cool.
I used to work in SEO, like digital marketing. And as soon as ChatGPT came out, it sort of like completely fucked me because I was a copywriter. My other degree is in English. So I was like, hired for all this writing stuff, and that sort of disappeared. So I had to like sort of repop myself or like pivot or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of us are having to do that right now.
Pretty dicey, but
yeah, it's pretty wild. It is a very common story on this podcast of bands finding themselves or finding a new direction that fits them better during COVID. A lot of bands had started before then and then had to readjust, and then they found themselves, and then as soon as people were shows are up again, they were out. But a lot of people did the same, were writing and just getting their angers and frustrations out just through the arts.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like it was like a dividing line, like pre-COVID albums versus post-COVID albums. And also, I felt really bad. There were a couple bands that put their albums out like right when COVID hit and they weren't able to tour, and it just was like such a fucking bummer for them.
Yeah, so many bands, so many.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I guess the only lucky thing for us was that we didn't like release anything before that. So we were able to sit on it, let it, write more stuff. I don't know.
Do you feel the time that you had to sit on it helped you in any way?
Well, I don't think we changed the music. Like when we finished album 1, which was literally the December before COVID hit, we were like really excited on it, and we filmed a really elaborate music video that we were very excited about early that next year. And then, March, I believe it was like March, Friday the 13th. That was like, I remember going out that night. That was like the night before everything shut down. So
yeah, that was right there. Oh,
yeah, I remember. It was like Bad Luck Friday. And So, I think, but we definitely did like two more music videos and developed a lot of the cover artworks, like all the logos, all the like iconography that we've sort of even continued to use for this day. And then, just writing a ton more material, nerding out about different synthesizers and just
Yeah.
like there was nothing else to do except like hyper focus on these little things. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that was really helpful um in some ways, but yeah, it was definitely horrible. I mean, I remember like just walking around like listening to Page 99 or something and being like, I would give anything to see a live punk drummer right now. Like I would pay like $400 to see anyone just hit drums in front of me. Like, please.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, once
like anything.
shows were taken away, I think we all kind of realized it was one of those moments where you don't know what you have kind of until it's gone. And when
Absolutely.
shows were gone, that's a big part of us. Is going to
Oh,
shows and being with the community and feeling like you're one. And, I always feel like whenever I step into a venue or a show, I'm just transporting myself to somewhere different. I'm like, I'm going to leave all my worries back there. When I step into that mosh pit, it's
oh
over
hell yeah.
with. You know what I mean? Like I'm done with all the worries, and then I'm just one with everybody there, and it's such an amazing moment. But when that was taken away from us, that was rough.
Oh, it was absolutely rough. I mean, I think in terms of like one, I guess maybe not that like my music or even this podcast is about looking on the bright side, but to like look on the bright side about it is like when it came back, I think people were a lot more open-minded to different genres of music, like especially sort of what I was saying before, like the live band, maybe alternative or metal or whatever punk scenes. There was that, and then there was like techno, and then it was pretty siloed. And then I feel like there's this like generational shift where I would go to
Mm.
like raves and I would see like a bunch of young punk kids with like Slipknot shirts and like My Chemical Romance shirts, but like dancing to Gabber and shit. And I was like, this is like kind of awesome. Like this is just chaotic.
Yeah,
Like as long as something has energy, like people are just like
yeah,
down.
yeah,
And so it's like, okay, like I could see like new artists and new fertile things growing out of this like renewed
yeah.
appreciation for yeah,
Absolutely.
going out to these shows and stuff. So
Yeah, so you talk about a positive, and I think one of the positives that come out of what you're talking about with your story is that I feel a lot of us are kind of impulsive when we're excited. And what I mean by that is, so you had music you were working on, but you held off. You held off until the
oh
time
yeah,
was
it's
right.
horrible.
And so it's horrible. However, you were able to get a lot of other things done during that time while you were holding off, living with a graphic designer, really kind of tuning your art. So when you were crafting your art, so when you were ready for it, it was like we have this, and then you had the visuals ready to go. It seemed like that time gave you that moment to kind of just really focus in and be like, okay, let's take our time with this. Let's really, really think about what's the most important to put out and the best way to do instead of just like being stoked on something and putting it out right away. Which I feel a lot of us do, and then we're like, "Oh fuck, that was a little early." Now, now we kind of have to backtrack a little bit. It sounded
Yeah,
like
I
you guys were
mean,
ready to go.
yeah, I mean, I think like being in my early 20s and other earlier projects, it was just like you're figuring it out in front of people, and it was a very conscious decision to not do that with this
Yeah,
band. It's like
yeah,
this is fully formed whether you like it or don't, or feel like it's mid, like that's fine, but at least you're gonna know what it is,
yeah,
like
yeah,
like so
yeah. Do you feel any certain way about having to hold it? Do you think that the time you put it out was the right time for it to be out, or do you wish you would have been able to get it out earlier?
I don't know. I mean, the more I think about this kind of stuff, it's like it's hard to say.
Yeah, it really
I mean,
is.
especially in a place like New York. I mean, ever since I've lived here and really participated in like the underground, which I guess I would say is probably from like 18 onwards. Like every 6 months, there's like a new micro trend or new strands of stuff that are popular, new
Yeah,
clothes people wear,
yeah,
new bands or DJs people are psyched on, and it's like sometimes you're like really not into whatever the thing is, but then it's like a roll of the dice. Like the next 6 months, it might be like something you're really fucking into, and so
Yeah.
it's like, it kind of feels like I don't know. I've never really been surfing, but I've snowboarded. But it's like you're there's a bunch of waves, and maybe some
Yeah.
of them you'll sort of catch them. Maybe I do think that like for dark, like kind of industrial, electronic, alternative music, I think there is a lot of like momentum behind a lot of stuff, from
Mhm.
bands like Health to people like Poppy or, you know, uh, I don't know, what are some other artists out there like Scowl is doing really well, like or Turnstile even though they're sort of more like in the indie world now, but like I feel like I saw Turnstile play with Boy Harsher under the K Bridge, and
Mm.
it's like all these young kids wearing like a bunch of like rock and metal hardcore t-shirts. I was like, this feels like what Lollapalooza must have been like in the 90s. Like I didn't even think this like still existed.
Mhm.
But it does seem like there's a resurgence in alternative music, and I
Was
think
that like CBGB festival or something that
that was a,
happened?
that was a different one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This was like at the beginning of the summer, and it was really cool.
Okay.
But it was
Um,
probably in the same spot, right? That was
yeah,
like
I think it was at the same spot. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you had talked about your album Damage Dream.
yeah,
And we are here today because of a track that you wrote called Justified.
yes.
Why, out of all your songs, why did you choose this one? What does this one mean to you?
Well, since the song is, I guess, about psychology and mental health and different aspects of that, I wrote this song because of a question my therapist asked me, or kind of something he said that like annoyed me. He like retired, so I don't currently have a therapist, but I was talking to this like old man for a while, and we had this kind of like combative relationship. Like he wasn't the kind of like I personally think that like therapists who just validate you are shit.
Yeah. And that's a
Like
lot. That's a lot of them.
and I've had some friends that have turned into absolute terrors because like their therapist will just tell them that like everyone else was mean to them and like
Yeah.
they're right, and then they
Yeah.
start like lashing out and pushing back, and it's just like a
Yeah.
horrible scenario. So this guy would always like kind of call me out on my bullshit, or like give me shit when he thought I was like avoiding issues, or like if
Mm.
I was in a situation where I was in the wrong. But one of the things he would always like hound me about is he would always say like, you have Catholic guilt, and I'd be like, because I went to Catholic school, and I don't know. I mean, he just would say that. And, I was like, I don't have Catholic guilt. Like, I listened to Gorgoroth and a bunch of like blasphemous black metal. Like, I'm not thinking about that at all. But then I like sort of examined it, and I was like, maybe there is something here.
Mm.
And so I wrote the song Justified, which is sort of about this crazy story. So I was like living in the suburbs, and I went to a Catholic middle school, and it was horrible. It was very like strict. You had to wear uniforms. There were only 30 people in the grade, and so it
Mm.
felt really like claustrophobic. I went from this public school, which I actually really loved, and it was like idyllic. But then I guess in middle school, my parents were worried about me like doing drugs or something. Not that I was a bad kid, but they were just like afraid of like the public middle school.
Sure.
So they like put my
The
siblings.
peer pressure.
Yeah, like they put us in this Catholic middle school, but it was kind of a nightmare. Like
Mm.
you had all these kids like who were, I don't know, just really like awful people. Like they would just, call you homophobic things, and then they would write like swastikas in the bathroom, and
Oh
like
my goodness.
it was like bad. It was bad. Like just these like fucked up kids who were like honestly pretty stupid, and obviously and so and then from the teacher's side you had like everyone being they had classes about where they would scare you. They'd be like, if you have sex with one person, like you're gonna get AIDS, and they would draw a chart about like the STDs. So all these scare
Wow.
tactics, all
Yeah.
this. And meanwhile, like if you look beneath the surface, like no one is acting in any sort of like Christian way, really. Um, but like the icing on the cake was, this priest who was like the head of the school and the head of the congregation, who he basically had been stealing money, pilfering like the funds, and had like his own secret apartment in Manhattan, and was like bought a boat and was like an
Oh,
investment.
wow.
And meanwhile he's like making little kids go to like confession, which is like a fucked up guilt ritual, which is like I would
A
go,
guilt ritual.
yeah, it's like, when you're like 8, all right, like what is the worst thing you have done? Like probably nothing really bad at all, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And to the point where like, I'd have to make up stuff. Like I'd be like to my dad, I'd be like, what do I have to say in this confession? And he'd be like, just say you were mean to your sister or something. And I wasn't even, like, so
And
you
your
go,
parents were telling you to kind of make things up.
yeah, I mean, I think, my parents are not like super strictly religious. They just thought this was like a good idea, or like it would be like a better education. I don't know. It's like they're not really at fault for this. But, just the whole climate, amongst all of this, right? The like hypocrisy of this guy that's making you confess your sins to him, but he's stealing money from everybody. The like sanctimonious, like class moms and the teachers, when their kids are like drawing swastikas in the bathroom. And, someone called me like an F slur, the queer one, and I shoved him down the fucking stairs. I was actually pretty proud of that one. It was only 3 stairs. It was okay, but I got in trouble for that. But
You're like worth it.
oh, absolutely worth it. Fucking loser. But anyway, so with all of that, like I was also getting into music at the same time, right? So I'm listening to bands like Thursday or Radiohead or like maybe Coheed and Cambria, or like I don't know, all sorts of stuff from like grunge to like emo and all sorts of things like that. And, it's like all this like dark music with like darker imagery, and I the song was, because of the way all of this was, I wanted to go in the opposite direction of like anything these kids or this institution.
Yeah.
And like I want to like say this, the song and the whole point is, while I love some like blasphemous black metal, I'm not here to say like, to shit on anyone's like spiritual beliefs or like what they think. I'm a big fan of like individuality and choosing your own path and thinking for yourself. I just think when the institutions come into play, things can get really messed up, and groupthink can lead people down weird rabbit holes. And I mean, you can see that with the Catholic Church, all these priests committing all these atrocities, just covering for each other, right?
Yeah.
So the song basically was about like, Justified was like, in daylight I die, the dark has my eyes. In daylight I'm blind, the darkness is mine. Justified. It's like, I'm gonna go in this completely other direction. I sort of became an atheist at the time. Now I'm not sure. I'm more maybe agnostic or just like confused. But like, like I was like, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any of this. Fuck that. I'm going in my own way. And maybe there was some sort of like remnant of guilt, or maybe not. But the song is sort of about that. And it sort of, talks about it like, I was a child. You convinced me I had sinned. What a liar. I could see the truth within. So it's very direct when you know what it's about.
Okay.
And the bridge is like, shame's a lie, I'm purified tonight, justified. And other parts like, tell me how to live, I'll shut you out. Show me how to live, I'll cut you down. It's like, you're not having any say over how I'm going to see the world and my own morality. I don't need these authority figures in my life to tell me that. And in fact, I think like dark music and art is like a very freeing, I mean, incredibly freeing and liberating and like positive thing. I mean, unless you get into some like racist skinheads or something, but like for the most part, like you meet people in like the goth or metal scene, and they're very like thoughtful, nice people.
Yeah.
And they just want to be like respected for their individuality, and if you show them a little bit of respect, they'll give it back to you, unless they're a meathead. So that's sort of what the song's about.
Okay, well, that sparks one question. So you talk about Catholic guilt and your experience at school and the kind of corruptedness of the system that you're going to. Do you feel that one of the reasons you disconnected that way is because of the religion itself, or just those who are pushing it and the ideas of those who are pushing it? Like, what is that conflict like? What the actual thing is compared to how it's being presented to you?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I mean, this is a complicated question. There's
It
also
is.
like
It is.
John, and there's several things I want to say here. Number one, like the music and art of Catholicism is incredible. I mean, there's a reason every goth band uses crosses in their imagery. There's a reason like Cocteau Twins and Dead Can Dance are using like choirs and organs and all these things that like remind you of church music, you know. And if you listen to like classical music, you know, from Beethoven to Bach to up to like, you know, whoever else, you know, Messiaen in the 20th century, like there's a lot of incredible art that's like inspired by these existential questions. You know, you look at Dante's Inferno, you look at you know, something like Paradise Lost, which is all about, you know, from Lucifer's point of view, you know. So you know, jokingly, John is Irish and Italian, so we joke that we're not Christian rock, we're Catholic rock. We're not really. It's just like a gag. But you know, so in the song,
Sure.
you know, we there's a lot of choirs in the song. There's strings. We actually got my friend Caitlin to layer vocals in the bridge because, you know, you can get so far with a computer, but we needed a real person to do all these layers, and so I wrote out these parts and had her sing them. And so we were, you know, we reference a lot of that stuff in the conflict of wrestling with it. You know, like even a song like Madonna, like a prayer, like, you know, that's a song about sex, right? But it's using all this like Catholic iconography, or Depeche Mode, obviously. That's like a huge one, right? So that stuff is intriguing. And, you know, when you get into the point of view of like theologians or philosophers, a lot of what they do is like wrestle with these big questions of like they're questioning. They're not like blindly obeying, right? Like the stuff that's interesting to me is the stuff that's like, this is complicated. What's going to happen to us after we die? This is one lens to view it. So that part, I think I would give a thumbs up. Like, you know, also obviously like the visual art, you know, like Leonardo da Vinci and like Michelangelo and all that stuff is like incredible and like breathtaking, right? So, you know, I would also say that in terms of like the morals, when they're like, I guess the basic idea of like, you know, treating someone the way you want to be treated, you know, and the meek shall inherit the earth, you know, like a lot of that stuff is like, I think thumbs up, you know.
Okay.
But the way people distort it,
Sure. Yeah.
you know, the way, you know, Trump is like, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Christian, you know, and they justify wars, and, you know, using the Bible, right? The Crusades, I would give that a thumbs down, you know. But, you know, within the actual text of the Bible, there is some like hairy stuff, I would say, like the book of Job, you know, where like basically the way that goes is Satan makes a bet with God, being like, Job only likes you because you blessed him with a bountiful harvest and a great family. And God's like, well, if I take all that shit away, he's still gonna love me. We'll see. We'll bet on it. It's like, okay, why are you like playing Kalshi with Satan, dude? Like that's not very like high level. So he, you know, kills off Job's family. He like burns his harvest, and Job is like, curse you, God, for forsaking me, you know? And then he gets admonished and eventually has to like be like, I'm sorry, God, I actually love you no matter what, you know? Like that's kind of fucked. Or, you know, the Abraham thing where God was like, oh, you have to kill your firstborn to show, you know, your loyalty to me. And he goes up and he's about to kill Isaac, I think his first son. And God's like, just kidding. You don't have to do that. It was a test. It's like, okay, dude, like why? Like, you know, so that I would give a thumbs down. So
You seem very, very passionate about this topic.
Well, I
And
mean,
and it's great that you have a platform like your art and your band to kind of get some of this out.
yeah, I mean, I think it's still like a persisting problem. I mean, if you
Yeah.
think about something like trans rights, where I obviously believe people should be able to live their gender identity in truth, and the fact that people have this almost satanic panic about it, and they're like, they have an agenda. They're trying to get my kid to turn trans. They're like the devil and all this. And it's like every trans person I know just wants to live a life where they feel safe at night going home. And like, can't you just have a heart and see that? Like, I wouldn't feel so agitated if it wasn't continually thrown in our face as like justification for like horrific attitudes.
Mhm.
Like it's
Yeah.
it's like the and attitudes that seem contradictory to the like treat someone like you want to be treated adage, which is supposed to be the most important.
Yeah.
So
There's a weird balance for us to play when we have to try to figure out what this definition of life means, and then look at biblical things, but the way that it's presented by others, and so it taints our vision on it. But when you really get down to just like the point of it all, what do you believe? And I'm not really asking you, it's just kind of like a question that I think it's important to ask. Deep down inside, who are we and what do we believe? Don't let others kind of dictate who we are and what we believe. Just be you. And that's kind of what you're saying. Just be you.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that like separated from mob mentality, like people think a lot more clearly, and
Yeah, it definitely.
and so I think where the stuff goes wrong is where they're encouraging like blind faith, blind belief, and I don't think that makes any sense. you know, uh,
Well, I think you have teased this song enough. I am, after hearing all that, I am stoked to listen to the song. I have not heard it yet.
Okay.
I intentionally hold off on listening to these tracks because I like doing live reactions and kind of saying what it means to me in the moment after hearing the story about it.
Sure.
So, yeah. All right, this is Justified by Heavy Halo. Let's break this one down.
I was a child. You convinced me I had sinned. What a liar. I could see the truth within. I tore apart the seams, but you're still a piece of me. The decades in between, but you still tell me how to live. I'll cut you out. Show me how to live. I'll shut you down. Tell me how to live. I'll cut you out. Show me how to live. You're not justified. 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 Daylight, I'm blind. The dark has my eyes.
All right, I feel like that's a good place to talk it over. Yeah, these lyrics are straight to the point, like you were saying. There is no question of how you're feeling in this moment. You're telling a
Yeah.
story here. I was a child. You convinced me I had sinned, so you believed it. You believed you were living a way that you shouldn't be. What a liar. I could see the truth within. I can see these lies. I can tell that there's something off about this. I tore apart the seams. It almost seems like the seams is your inner self. You were almost kind of tearing apart yourself and trying to figure out what you were doing wrong almost, or what you needed to do right, or how to live a better life in relation to the school and those around you. But you tore it apart and you're done with it. But there's still a little part that you hold on to because it's made you who you are today. Decades in between, but you're still telling me how to live. And so at this point, you're out. I'm done with you. I'm done. It almost seems like a fuck you to anybody who is telling you how to live your life, and I'll cut you out. Show me how to live. You're not justified. Like, who gives you the right to tell me how to live? Just because you believe this way, or you're presenting to live this way, you think it's justified by your words, but you're not. What is, yeah, break down a little bit of how you felt in the moment in writing these lyrics, and just kind of what putting this down meant to you.
So, I mean, the way we even got into the, to bring it back to the therapist thing, the reason we got into the whole discussion of Catholic guilt to begin with is, he thought it was a part of the root of my anxiety, right? And so in neuroses, it's like, I mean, one thing I can say is being in that environment when I was younger and sort of retreating into my music, and it definitely was like an emo kid with like the hoodie and like the hair in my face. And, you could say part of that was just being moody, but I mean, part of me is like, wow, that was the first time I experienced anything that was like remotely like depression, just feeling like alienated. And that has definitely been like a thing I've had to contend with in my life at points. And
being alienated?
Well, it was depression,
depression.
And, I mean, I don't feel that alienated right now, and for a lot of reasons. Like mainly because I feel like I found a lot of like-minded, awesome people that like I understand and they understand me, which is great. And I think the tearing apart the seams thing, I liked your idea of like, yeah, it's definitely like searching within yourself. And I think, when you have anxieties, especially, just living your life being like, for a long time I was very like uptight and like conscientious and like hard on myself in a lot of ways, and you like wonder what the root of that was. Like in therapy everyone's like, what caused this, and I wouldn't say that this is like, I still don't have a complete answer for that, and I don't think I ever will. Like you look down at like, why am I like this? Why do I feel the need to like write these crazy songs and scream my head off and like roll around on the ground? Like I don't know. It's not like I've had like a horrible life or anything like that. It's like where does that like where does the angst come from?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't have a fucking answer, but I do think maybe part of it could be, I mean, this is maybe either a speculative song or it is like, yeah, maybe some of it came from like this rigid sense of morality that comes from like, being Christian and being, or I'm not Christian now, but like, being raised in an environment where you're like afraid of hell or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think that helps. Like, I mean, I think there's like, I don't know. I don't have kids, my sister does. And it's kind of interesting how they're raising their daughter, because it's like, she'll want to do something that they don't want her to do, like sit in her baby brother's chair, which will break it. And they frame everything, rather than telling her not to do it, they're like, you can do it, but you're going to get a timeout. So it's like everything's a choice. And I guess that's like a parenting move. It's like it makes the kid feel like they have agency. It's like up to them. And a lot of like temper tantrums and people overreacting is like being told you can't do something. And they just like want to feel like they have control over the situation.
They want to feel justified in what
they want to feel justified for sitting in the baby brother's chair, even though it's small and uncomfortable. There's like literally no reason. She's got like a bunch of toys.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think the word justified is a great term, because there's so many different ways to look at that. Like we justify things in our mind all the time.
Yeah, I mean, with Heavy Halo, like we try to have every song have a very simple concept that embodies a conflict. I've said this before in other places, but the whole idea of like Heavy Halo, right? It's like you want to be good, you're trying to be something, but you get dragged down by reality and your shortcomings and the darkness and whatever else, and so you're sort of torn between heaven and hell or whatever. And so we try to like like a word like justified is like loaded, or like in other songs, like a word like betrayed, or a word like, that's one of our other songs.
Do you find yourself finding words and then writing lyrics around those words? Like, hey, justified is a great word to talk about this, so I'm going to write a song about how justification has worked in my life. Is that kind of how you do it, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times the music is first, because the melody is like king in our band. Like, if there's not a good melody in every part, that, or what we think is a good melody in every part, the song gets thrown out. And so a lot of times it starts with working on any number of these drum machines or my guitars, and sort of something that spikes my interest, and I'm like, okay, I start vocalizing over it, singing, and then, I don't know, like, I think in your subconscious, there's a lot going on that you don't. I think a cool thing about being a songwriter or a poet or anything like that is, everyone has these internal monologues. Everyone has dreams and like things that are bothering them, but you're giving it, like, you're putting it into a way that other people can understand it. So, this was obviously something that was on my mind. And I think the first part was like, I started with was like, I was a child. And I don't know why, but I just felt like that was like an evocative lyric. Like, you can't, like, if you start a song with that, someone's like, oh shit, they're going deep into their like repressed memories.
Like, that's what I was gonna say. The start of the song just takes me back to being a kid, and how would I feel about these certain situations as a kid. And then you really start to listen to these lyrics, and you can relate these things in different ways. Tell me how to live, I'll cut you out. Yeah, you went through kind of a religious upbringing on how to live, but other people are brought up in different ways of different living situations, and whether it be financial or other factors. But there's there's so many ways to to feel justified, and to look at this and not just take it for face value, but to be able to relate it to their life.
I just also
justified's a heavy word.
I mean, I just think, like, also, like, waking up every day, it's like I have to dig myself out of like doubt of myself. And so I often don't understand people who get really like sanctimonious about anything. They're like, oh, I'm like right about this hot take, or I'm like morally right about like this or this or this. And there's like so much of that on the internet, and I don't really want to get into specifics really.
Sure. That's a whole different podcast.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I just wish people would look at themselves and like understand their own. I mean, maybe I take it too far, and you can take it too far and like have self-esteem issues, which I've struggled with. But like, I think a healthy sense of like questioning yourself and not like thinking you're so much better than everyone else. Like, I just don't get where that comes from. Like, how dare you, And so that's what these lyrics are trying to convey. Like, fuck you. You think that you have all the answers and you're completely right. Like, I'm not even going to look at you.
There's a lot of, as I've gotten older and gone through relationships, and this is a word that I just learned a couple of years ago. Like, I've heard it, but I never really knew what it meant until I went through it. But the term narcissism.
Oh, yeah.
Just complete lack of empathy and feeling like you are just above everything else. Like, your view is the right way, and anybody else you don't even talk to, you don't listen to. Just complete lack of empathy and only seeing one way. And I feel like there's just so much of that going on today.
Yeah, I mean, the internet, even being on a podcast like this, talking about my own songs, it feels a little egocentric, It's like, it's a good
Sure.
thing you asked me to be on it. I'm glad to like talk about it, and hopefully people might find it interesting, but I hope that I hope that people get something out of the music rather than it just being an ego trip, right? That's
Sure.
what you hope. And so, the internet definitely amplifies those urges.
Sure.
The navel-gazing narcissism thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I think an important word that comes to mind right now is intention. yeah, you're on this podcast, but what's your intention? Is it to really boost yourself and just talk about you, or are you trying to spread a message here and, being vocal about something and, trying to see if it sparks something in somebody else? I think intention behind everything is what matters the most.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to come out looking flattering in this. So I think it's more to be honest, right? So I think that, it's like, this is not to make me look good or cool. Like, I'm literally just spilling all my guts here. So it's like,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah. Well, that's what this is
like
for.
GQ profile or some shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we still got some song to listen to and some lyrics to listen to. Let's dive back in. All right, that's a good place to stop. We got some stuff there. Boy, do we got some stuff there. I'm gonna go back to the course area when we're done. I'm gonna skip over that just temporarily.
Sure.
So the way you start the second verse is the same way again. I was a child. So you're like, if you separated it all from this moment that I presented you with, I'm gonna bring you right back into it. When I was a child again. Took the judgment in, fucked up trial. From going off your story, that almost seems like the trial of your parents putting you into that system where it's like, you wanted me to be this way, you wanted me to go that way, but it didn't work out the way that you wanted to, or the way that maybe others think it should have gone. So it was a messed up, it was a fucked up trial. It didn't work.
That was more just directly talking about confession.
Oh, okay.
That's sort of how I felt. I actually don't really blame my parents very much for anything in this song.
The guilt just grew within. I tore apart the seams, but you're still a piece of me. Put oceans in between. The guilt grew. So that's something I kind of wanted to go back to. You had said that when the therapist had said you had Catholic guilt, it kind of made you irritated, but then you sat and thought about it. Do you feel like you do have that? Especially with the lines, the guilt just grew within?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like whatever. Somehow I ended up with a heavy halo where it's like I have this guilt and I have this self-loathing and aspects of that where, fear of saying or doing the wrong thing, or if I think I thought I said or did the wrong thing, I beat myself up for way too long and it probably didn't matter.
Oh, so that kind of guilt.
Not that I haven't made mistakes that actually matter that I've hopefully tried to rectify, but definitely over exaggerated, and for years it was kind of crippling, just crippling anxiety about stuff, and I've luckily made strides in overcoming that, but it's just searching for a root of that, and I don't know entirely if it's this Catholic thing. Like I said, I don't really have a full answer, nor do I really think I ever will, because I don't know. There's a lot of things that make up like the entirety of a person. It's really hard.
It's just a piece of you, but you're still a piece of me. It may not be the exact root of it, but it is a piece of it.
Yeah, I guess I'm admitting in the song that, like, okay, like, yeah, these standards that people are impressing on you when you're young still resonate. You know, it just sucks. Like, you know, when you hear all this stuff and people talk about like what happens to you when your like first 3 years like defines your whole attachment style, and you know, it's like you want to believe that that's not true. You want to believe that you can like change as a person and like, you know, not have stuff that happened to you in this tiny sliver of your life define your whole life.
Yeah.
But it is abnormally large how these things impact you from how young you are.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big part of why I keep going back to I was a child. Like, okay, maybe these things impacted me more than I realized. Like, my rational brain is telling me they didn't, but my subconscious and my emotional brain is like, okay, maybe they did really impact me.
I've been doing a lot of therapy I've been heavily into therapy for the last like 5 years or so. And I am 35 now. And so just in my 30s, am I starting to kind of look back at my childhood and really pinpoint areas and be like, you know what? This did affect me, and it's still affecting me, and I see how it's affecting me all throughout like middle school and high school and college and relationships. I think it's important to go back to your childhood sometimes and kind of just reflect and really just ask why. Why did I feel this way? When did I realize I started to kind of act a certain way based on these events? It's kind of crazy, but it's so important to self-evaluate.
Yeah, I mean, half of our songs are like that, and then the other half are like, the past is poison, don't think about it, move on. So it's like that's another conflict that's like in our band. It's like, you know, this stuff can kill you if you let it weigh too much. You know, like if people let, you know, like another song, I know this is not what this song is about, but the song The Past is Poison is about like, if you look back on the past with regret and that's all you think about, it's going to color how you go forward. If you look on the past with nostalgia and rosy glasses, it's going to keep you from enjoying new things and having an open mind, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, I mean, I guess it's cliche, but I guess some sort of balance of like self-evaluation, but not ruminating on it too much, which...
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know? But
still having a piece of it to be able to remember to not go back to that place. It's important for these moments to still be a piece of you and to be a piece of us. There might be oceans in between. I'm at a distance between that past, but I can still see it a little bit. I know that it's there somewhere. It's deep, it's far. I can't see it right now, but I know it's there. There's an ocean in between us, and I'm trying to figure out what that distance is.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you were talking about waves earlier, and then here's the ocean part.
Yeah. Put decades in between, put oceans in between. Yeah, just sort of echoing it, you know, time and space.
Yeah.
Just kind of thing. I write a lot
There's something about water. And I've come to realize that. There's something about water. Yeah.
And so a lot of my, like when I lived in the suburbs, we were pretty near the ocean, like the Long Island Sound. And so I use a lot of ocean imagery in my stuff, just in general. It's like definitely like probably well, there's fire, but I don't know. I feel like water gets the most. But
are you a Greek mythology fan?
Kind of.
Yeah, this kind of just reminds me of like Poseidon, you know, the king of water.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, just having control over it. That's what this almost sounds like. You're putting an ocean in between your
Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. So basically, it's a romantic poem where it's about a sailor who kills a sacred albatross and basically it dooms his ship. And so there's this whole thing about this imagery of like the albatross around his neck, where it's this weight that pulls him down because he killed this like character of divine providence. It's kind of like if you've ever seen The Lighthouse, that movie, you know, where he kills the gull. Like that's definitely calling back to that idea. So I never even thought of that, but that's a complete poem about guilt and crossing divine lines and what happens to you. But it's also, if you listen to the song Good Morning Captain by Slint, that band, they reference heavily Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, which is an incredible song, which also was an influence on me. So maybe some of these, like, and Moby Dick, another one I love, which is also about something similar.
Yeah, there's something about you and water.
Yeah, I mean, these are great stories.
Yeah.
I mean, they're great stories.
I love water. I always feel so at peace when I am near the water. It's crazy. I was in Greece recently, in Athens, and just, I don't know, just being around that environment, it was life changing. I got a Poseidon tattoo when I was in Athens. Sick. I love water. and you talk about the weight of things during this part, and I mean, just even your band name alone, there's weight to it. The halo is heavy.
Yeah,
there's a lot of weight going on here.
The first song I ever wrote I was like 12, and the song was called Heavy. And the lyrics were like, it feels like it's all coming down on me heavy, which is obviously really simple, but I was 12. And it was about like 9/11.
You were 12 at that point.
Yeah, it was about 9/11 and like how that affected a lot of people I knew and how it was a dark time. So that was like one of the reasons I called the band Heavy Halo. Another one was Heavier Than Heaven, which is like the book and the tour that Nirvana went on. And I always thought that was like the coolest title. And then there's also the Depeche Mode song Halo. And then there's also Trent Reznor labels his the Nine Inch Nails releases like Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3. So every Nine Inch Nails release, they're on like Halo 100 and whatever. Every EP. So I was like, oh, this name kind of it is alliteration. It has, you know, two letters that are the same. It is conflict in it, and it references all these sort of different things that are important to me.
Put oceans in between. You are putting a lot of emotion into that water. There's something with you and water and weight.
Yeah.
And pressure and heaviness and separation.
I mean, there's definitely a lot. Yeah. I definitely have a lot of lyrics about like drowning and needing.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah. Well,
I love it though.
That definitely seems like the worst way to go. One of them.
By maybe water?
Not, I don't know. Maybe being burnt steak would be worse, obviously. But like the idea of like,
yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. Well, if you watch
we're not a death metal band, so we don't go that far. We're trying to keep it metaphorical here. We're not.
Like, we're not talking the horror film Open Water, where you're lost in the ocean and sharks are coming to eat you alive.
Ghost ship or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, let's keep listening to this track.
Yeah.
Shame's a lie. I'm purified tonight. Justified.
Well, just like the name of the band, this song is heavy.
Thanks.
So yeah, that was Justified by Heavy Halo. Let's dig back into some of these lyrics here. The daylight I'm blind, the dark has my eyes. In daylight I die, the darkness is mine. Shame's a lie. I'm purified tonight. Let's take it back to in the daylight, I'm blind. The darkness has my eyes. Um, Me being such a big horror fan, this takes me to a vampire.
Oh yeah. I mean,
It's almost like
it's definitely like
Yeah.
we're fucking weirdo goth people that go
Yeah.
out, you know.
Yeah, like you feel more comfortable at night when it's darker and you just feel like it's a safer spot because you're not seeing as much maybe.
That
Or
and
no.
also, I mean, I think that sort of ties in like, getting into writing music, and I think every like creative person has gone through a period where they're like fucking nocturnal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's like easier, like you're working on songs all night, or you're like editing a video all night, or like,
Yeah.
because it's just there's a lot of solitary time. I mean, I have a more normal sleep schedule now, but so it was just sort of like that. Like I'm gonna go further into my internal world,
Yeah.
all these things I'm into, listening to The Cure, like,
Yeah, it's funny. I don't really start my days until the night. Like I feel like during the day I kind of just take care of little tedious things, but when the night comes, that's when I'm like, now I can get creative. Now the world is kind of shutting down for the night and people are in or whatever, and this is just my moment to be alone. I actually work really well after midnight. I stay up really late often, and I like opening the window at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and just being alone and feeling that fresh air come in, looking outside, not seeing anything. Like I just feel like I'm in my own world, the darkness. It's a little comforting to me. So
Yeah.
I get this here.
Yeah, and like when you like like this is a completely different genre, but Robin, the pop singer, 'cause that's like
Yeah.
dancing on my own. There's a big black sky over my town, and it's like whenever I walk out, and it's like maybe I'm going somewhere to a show or something, and I walk out and just see the fucking sky and the moon, and I'm like, the world is open to me. like it's like
Yeah.
such a fun like moment. I don't know.
Vampire moment. I
No,
can
yeah,
finally
absolutely, like, it's
finally
like,
live.
It is time. It's like
You rise from your coffin and here
yeah,
you go.
exactly.
The darkness is mine. Just like we were saying, you walk out, you see that moon shining. You're like, that's all the light I need. The light from the moon, the light from the darkness almost.
Yeah, so it's like celebrating that and
Yeah.
being like, this is cool, this is okay. Like it might not be what other people are doing or path that other people are walking. Maybe, obviously there's a lot of people who are like-minded, but especially at that age, I felt so alienated, in that situation. I was like, also the middle school didn't have a good music and arts program. Like when I went to high school, they had an amazing music and arts program, and high school is still like kind of tricky for everyone, but I felt a lot more like, oh, okay, there's like-minded people here. But there I was like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing,
Mhm. Yeah.
here.
Yeah. James, a lie.
Yes.
That's a heavy line right there.
Well, I think shame is the root of like almost every problem.
Internal shame or shame placed on by others. Which one is?
It's repression, and also it relates to the church, right? So if you look at like, a lot of like the abuse is perpetuated by something like the Catholic Church. It's like, things that happen in secret, like secret shame, secret like things that aren't out in the open, and it festers, and people do like horrible things because they won't admit aspects of themselves, and so it's like,
You think
yeah.
it's guilt that they're carrying behind that causes that shame?
I don't know, maybe I was also thinking about like the Scarlet Letter, so like in the Scarlet Letter, like Hester Prynne, she has an adulterous relationship with the priest, and she is sort of charged, and she is kind of like heroic because she's like accepts that she's like, I'm gonna wear this Scarlet Letter with pride. This is like who I am. This is what I did. Like, you're gonna shame me for it, but I'm gonna like transcend that. But like you know, I can't remember how it ends, but the priest is just like totally fucked up because he's like hiding it. He's like, I can't believe I did this thing, and it's like rotting him out from the inside. And it's like, you know, when you read it, you're like, wow, it would have been just if you just admitted it. Like whatever he's doing is much worse than.
And the fact that it came from a priest side too.
Yeah,
Takes
exactly.
on a
So,
whole
yeah.
new heaviness.
So,
Yeah.
you know, just thinking about, yeah, I mean, and I think that's also a therapy thing. It's like you know, there's better ways to, you know, it's also has to do like, I mean, if we want to get into it, I don't know how much time we have, but like to just scratch the surface, like the Jungian shadow self is definitely a huge influence on our music and like the lyrics. So, you know, Carl Jung, his whole idea was that your shadow is your subconscious, and those are like the dark parts of yourself that you don't want to admit to yourself, that you're like, I'm not like that, I don't think those things. But the more you try and jam them down a hole, the worse they seem,
Yeah.
and the worse things get. And so in order
That actually just gave me chills right now, because in 2018 I was diagnosed bipolar, and I fought that for so long. But the more that I fought it and I wasn't on medication, the worse it got for me. And I realized, you know what? Fuck. Damn it. All right, put my pride aside. Put my ego aside. Maybe I do need this.
Yeah, I mean, accepting help is important, and also, you know, Jung's whole idea was integrating the shadow self. So it's like you can admit these things to yourself, and in order to transcend and grow as a person, you have to understand and acknowledge that side of you. And
Yeah,
so,
I agree with that. You seem very educated.
thanks.
Yeah, you like to read, you like to study, you like to, you know, music. You just seem like a very well educated overall person. I think that's really cool. And it seems like you've gone through a lot of like internal kind of things, and really finding who you are through your music
Thanks. I mean,
and studying and learning.
the cool thing about this band is I feel like it allows us to put in. There's not really any limits. I mean, obviously we have a focused sound and we sort of occupy like a sort of genre, but you know, I really feel like we can put in whatever ideas we want into the music and sort of pull from these different influences in different ways. And I mean, that's the most fun part about it, is like kind of tying all these little strands together, and maybe have these little
seeing how they connect, and if they connect.
little Easter eggs in there.
Yeah.
Maybe some people get it. Maybe some people have their own interpretation, which is even cooler. Like you and your ideas about the lyrics is really interesting also. So.
Yeah, I'm purified tonight. It's like I'm ready to go. I feel like this is my comfort zone. I feel like this is when I am my best me. And I feel like the night is what does that.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess in that moment of the song, you know, there was a big scream, you know, let it out.
Yeah, let it out. In the daylight, I'm blind. The dark has my eyes. In daylight, I die. The darkness is mine. In the daylight, I die. Explain that one.
It's sort of a continuation of In the Daylight, I'm Blind, you know, maybe the vampire metaphor. It's like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, because if you're a vampire, you step into that light, you burn up.
Yeah, it's just sort of a more dramatic echoing of the other line,
Yeah.
I would say. And then just ending it on the word justified is just like a hard line. Just hammer it home. That's what this song is about.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to say everything, you know. It like a song can just have a simple idea as long as it has attention, I think. And that's sort of what we try to do.
Sometimes after I do these breakdowns, I like to pick a word that is not in the song, but that could kind of sum it up in a way.
Sure.
And I've already said it, and I think intention is a pretty heavy word for this song.
Contention?
Intention.
Oh, intention.
Yeah.
In what way?
Shame. Well, so great question. What a liar. I could see the truth within. you're still a piece of me. I'll tell you how to live. You tell me how to live, I'll cut you out. What was the intention behind the people telling you how to live and how to do these things? And I think it was the intention behind it is what sparked your way of feeling, is how it was presented to you and how you took it compared to what kind of that main root and that main subject matter was. Do you, I think so, or
I think it's like, I mean, the thing thinking about it that bothers me is I feel like it's like a complacency thing, you know? I mean, maybe a lot of these people, not the priest, I mean, I don't know, whatever, he was stealing, maybe he was a good person in other ways. People are complicated, you know?
Yeah, they are.
You know, like, but in my mind, because of the fact that there were like so many problems with bullying and these kids like spiraling off the rails into like some of the things I described earlier, it's like it seemed like they were just reading a script of like how you should be, and they weren't actually addressing the fact that these kids are like writing this stuff on the bathroom walls and like acting horrible. Like they're not like diagnosing the problem or like seeing the truth. They're just like reading from a script of like what they've been told it should be, whoever, like all the way up the chain to the dioceses, to the, you know, to the Pope, to whatever. It's like, it's not active, engaged morality. And I think that's like the thing. It's like you meet a lot of people who are like religious, right? And then they're just treating everyone like shit day to day, but they're like, I love God. It's like, okay, you're not actively like practicing this or actively thinking of empathy. You're
Hypocrites.
just all, yeah, you're hypocrites. That's the, that's the word. You know, so it's like, you know, I
maybe
think,
that is a good word to kind of come to sum up this song.
yeah, I agree with that. I'm surprised that didn't come up yet. Yeah, you were right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Well, this was a heavy song from a heavy place from Heavy Halo.
Awesome.
Heavy mental breakdown. The word heavy just means a lot to me because I think there's so many ways of relating to it. Thank you for sharing this song and telling your story. I know a lot of this is not easy to talk about. It is really not.
But you're
I
just
think
open up to, so
thank you. Yeah, I
gift with that. I don't know.
thank you. I just love asking why. I just ask everybody why all the time, and I'm like, let me do a podcast so I can just get it all out.
Totally.
But no, it's not easy to talk about these things, especially when it comes to a religion aspect of it, and childhood, and kind of bringing a lot of these different ideas into one song.
I mean, speaking of intention and trying not to be egotistical, it's like I wanted to pick a song that had a larger scope than just me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is about institutions and something a lot of people might have gone through or could relate to. It's like a bigger...
Oh, definitely.
The song that's aiming like bigger than just a war with myself, where I have a lot of songs like that, but this is like larger.
Yeah, there's a lot of lines in here that I can relate to. I don't have your past. I didn't have that kind of childhood, but I can listen to this song and pull bits and pieces and be like, yes, I understand this. I work late at night.
Totally.
I put oceans in between. I like the darkness. I'm just like, yeah, you know, even though now I know what that means, I can still put it in my own words and my own expression, and that's kind of the whole point of putting music out. You know, it's kind of you give it to the listeners, and it's like, this is yours now, and do with it as you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, McKeever, where can if somebody were to ask you, where is the best place to go for everything Heavy Halo? I want to follow everything. I want to make sure I'm at your show. Where is the best place to go for everything Heavy Halo?
So we have, Spotify for all the music, Instagram, Heavy Halo NYC. Also, Silent Pendulum Records has our vinyl. Yeah, I would say those are probably the three main ones. We have a lot of music videos up on YouTube. We did music videos and or lyric videos for every song on Damage
cool.
Green. So you can see one for Justified. Actually, it has a bunch of footage that I found, like found footage of people exploring abandoned churches. So it's sort of like the desecration and the decaying of this sacred infrastructure.
Yeah,
that was the idea behind that.
Awesome. Well, McKeever, thank you so much. And next time you are playing a local show, you better send me a message. Absolutely. Well, I'm going to be following you, so so I just said, where can everybody follow you? So I'm already following you. I'll keep an eye on it, but in case I miss it, hit me up. I want to be there.
Absolutely.
I want to be at one of your shows and dancing to Justified. And in a way, this song is really heavy and dark, but I kind of wanted to dance to it.
That's part of the goal.
Yeah. Let's dance out these emotions. Let's dance out this aggression and just have fun with it, huh?
Absolutely.
And that's what music's all about.
Hell yeah.
Ugh.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you too. I'll talk to you very soon. Thanks so much.
Adios.
All right, see ya.